Hi Floris, should we go on a walkshop?
That would be nice, Sarah. So here we are at the Utrecht University. We are at the outskirts of Utrecht. And we're going on a walkshop, and we invite you all to come along with us. If you're not in Utrecht, then just go outside, put on your shoes, and enjoy the outdoors. So that's what we will do in the coming half hour.
And what is a walkshop for those who haven't heard of it before?
A walkshop is a combination of walking and a workshop. So it's not just walking, and it is about philosophy outdoors. So it's a more intense experience of both nature and thinking, and even maybe also about your presence and your body. So it's about an intensive experience of being in nature or being yourself, and there's room for reflection and meditation, and we will guide you through some exercises.
Okay, and so to start off, maybe you can give some tips of how can people prepare for the walkshop?
The preparation is to just step out of the box, step outside, try to be on your own. You could also do it together, but the idea is that you do it on your own. And actually, you're not alone, because this exercise, this Podwalk, many people are now walking all over the world who participate in this workshop in different places on the globe. Actually, we can now wave to each other. Maybe we see each other on the globe. But actually, I am actually waving, so you could also wave. So we share this experience, although we are all alone. We share this experience of being together. Actually, that's interesting metaphor, that we're all alive on this planet on our own, but we share this world together. And now we also share this experience together, although we are alone and in different places.
Nice. So maybe just to give some people more context about where we are, Floris, would you like to describe our surroundings at the moment, maybe to give people a taste of where they should be for their podcast?
Oh, maybe Sarah, let you go ahead and you try.
Okay. So we are in Amelisweerd, which is a park on the outskirts of Utrecht University here in the Netherlands. It's a really beautiful space that's been preserved for nature. So right now we are walking along a path through the forest. We're surrounded by tall trees and a wide field beside us. Thankfully, it's a nice warm day today. There was some rain forecast, so it's a little bit humid, but we can feel the heat and the power of nature today, I think. Mm-hmm. We're surrounded by some beautiful tall trees that seem to be very, very old and have been here long before us and will be here long after us. And yeah, we can hear lots of birds around us. We're surrounded by flying insects. We're as close to nature as we can be, I think.
Look, we're going to the real in the forest. We go now from the path. We go into the forest.
So now we're jumping over a little mound and going into the forest and maybe falling a bit. So be careful when you're doing your pod walk. But now we want to go more into the forest to get more connected to nature.
Yeah.
So here we are, in the depths of trees.
In the depths of trees, yeah. So, okay. Yeah.
So now we're here walking through tall trees. We can hear lots of birds around us. Maybe you can also hear it on the recording. And now we're just going to talk a bit more about what is a walkshop and why does Floris do this. So Floris, why do you take students on walkshops? You do it in a lot of the courses that you teach here at Utrecht University, and why do you think it's important?
Yes, I teach philosophy courses, and I'm actually, my field of expertise is environmental ethics. And when I was teaching environmental ethics on campus, the buildings are usually concrete buildings, so often even without having any windows to the outside world. And I found it very strange to talk about philosophers speaking about the connection with nature and how we should relate to nature in an environment which really tries to exclude the natural world from it. So even today I was giving a class for 100 students in a fully closed off lecture hall with no windows, during the days we had to use artificial lighting, which is in a way strange. So I thought, what can we do about it? So I wanted to bring students outside, and I thought about bringing them to the forest, and not really to the other side of the planet, but just in the surroundings of where we are, and to experience nature, but also to do philosophy in nature, because I think it's not just a walking. Usually with students, you are doing it on your own, but with students, usually it's a group. It's really active philosophy, because the difference between a classroom, it's usually the teacher talking and maybe some questions, but generally the audience is very passive. And during a workshop, we have also a lot of guided conversation. So in the sense that some questions, philosophical questions, are given or handed out, and then the students can discuss this question in pairs, so that you have really philosophical questioning going on. It's really DIY philosophy. So it is this different from a general talk, because it's within a certain setting and framework, and it is in nature while walking. And it's good to remember that philosophy also started out walking. Socrates and what is called the pre-Socratic philosophers, the sophists, they were also walking outside, having pupils and students, but open in the air while walking. So the whole idea of having a philosophy class, sitting, lecturing is one thing to do it, but I think it, especially when we discuss environmental ethics, we should go outside. And then I have developed this concept into trying to do all kind of different exercises, and we will guide you to some of these exercises also today. But let's see if you can hear anything when we are quiet, Sarah and I, and see if you hear the Utrecht surrounding of nature for a few minutes. So just continue walking. We also do that. And see if you can touch something, like I'm now touching a small tree. Sarah's touching leaves. And usually we don't touch things. So I'm touching just a leaf, nothing special, but it's leaves, and usually, how does leaf feel? It's also interesting, the leaves, the tree is an earthling just like you and I. We share this planet with all the other living beings, not just human beings, but also the plants, the trees, the ants, other insects, the birds. They share the same time frame of existence in the universe with us on the same planet, on planet Earth. So of course we are special, but trees are special in the tree-like way of being special. And the plants are being special in being plants, and the ants are special in being ants. So we are special, but the ants are special as well. Here is a really tall tree with a bark, and we're touching the bark.
It's an oak tree.
An oak tree, yes, I see. With a very deep bark, and it's interesting. Usually you walk past trees and you don't, you see them, but now we try if you can touch also things and think what it does to you when you touch it. And look at how I touch this oak tree, and I think, okay, this oak tree is an earthling just like me, but it's much older than I am. And it probably, if it's not cut down, it can be older than, it will be there when I'm gone. So there will be other people walking here, other students and walking around here, also seeing this. Yeah, so it's a different thing. It's still there, so it's nice to and here, here's some moss on the ground, and that's also, it feels really soft. to the moss on the ground, and it's like, I always have to touch the moss on the ground. Mm-hmm. I was in a workshop where we did blindfolded walking with one person blind, and then I let a person also touch the ground on the moss, and it was really soft. But as soon as that person had his hand on the moss, there were all kind of ants crawling over it. But he didn't feel them even. That's funny. So I blow them off. So it was quite funny. A little bit too much nature, maybe.
But there's a light summer's breeze today, so we can hear the ruffling of the wind through the leaves and the trees. Everything is looking bright green. Summer is in full flow at this point, and everything is thriving. So it's a perfect day to be walking through the forest.
Yeah. And one of the questions is, and that's more a philosophical question, like, what is nature? Are we now in nature? We can see the city, the outskirts of the city. We can hear the highway. But it's still a very different experience than sitting inside a classroom. So yeah. What do you think, Sarah? Is this nature here where we are, or is this? I
think we're as close to nature as we can possibly be. I think that any space of untouched land is nature, or any space that biodiversity can thrive is nature. I know, of course, it's on different scales, but looking around us here, I see lots of different variations of plants and trees and flowers. I've seen so many types of insects. I hear a lot of birds, and for me, that's nature. Being able to witness and hear and feel the power of the natural world. So I would say that although we can see big university buildings on the horizon, and there's people going past us on bikes, I still think that, we're in nature, in the sense that the natural world is in its full power around us as much as it's allowed to be.
Yeah. And how does it feel to be outside as compared to sitting out inside a classroom?
It feels amazing. It feels so good to have the sun on my skin, and to hear the leaves around me, to feel the fresh air also, and just to be in awe at the beauty of nature. And I think that that's one important approach to taking the Walkshop, is that you sit back and just try and take in the beauty of nature around you by looking at the details of a tree or examining a leaf, smelling flowers, really just trying to immerse yourself in it. So right now it feels great to be taking the time to not only be in nature, but to appreciate nature, and to enjoy it, and to really make sure that on sunny days like today that we're out soaking it in instead of being locked up inside. So we hope that wherever you are listening to this podcast, that you are also in sunshine. And if not, you can feel the power of the rain and the wind and whatever other conditions you may be in.
Yeah, thank you, Sarah. It's nice that it seems like it's good that we I'd like you to reflect on how often during a week are you in nature, and when you are in nature, what do you do? Are you walking? Are you running? Are you walking with the dog? Are you mountain biking? Are you when are you in nature, or at least outside? And if you're outside, are you in that moment, or are you not in that moment? I mean, you can be outside and still be on your phone, or I don't know, maybe you're listening to music, which is great, of course, but it's a different way of connecting to nature. So the question could be, do you think that you are enough in nature for your own measurement? Do you think you are, is it enough? Because sometimes it's good. What philosophy can do is to take a step back, to look at your life and ask yourself, am I living the life that I want to live? What things are important in my life? And it seems that we are so geared into our lifestyles that nature and being in nature is pushed out more and more. I mean, if you ask how many time do you spend shopping a week, and how many, as compared to how much time do you spend in nature without buying stuff and just being in nature? That's a question I'd like you to ponder on and to think about it.
So maybe we can just walk now in silence for a while. You can listen to the sounds either around yourself or around us here on the recording and think about that question.
This is a nice bench. Shall we sit over here for a second?
Mm-hmm. So here we found a nice bench that's surrounded by different types of shrubs and bushes and trees. We see a beautiful pink blossom on one of the trees. I don't know what type of blossom that is, Floris, do you know?
No, me neither.
Looks like maybe a wild apple or something, maybe crab apple.
Yeah.
We're looking out over a big open field, kind of a meadowy field. There's some cows also in one of the fields. And yeah, we can still see the university buildings far in the horizon, but I would say we're as close to nature as possible.
Yes, here. So I'd like to reflect on the concept of alienation for a moment. Alienation is the concept of being separated from something else. And the concept originally comes from Karl Marx in his theory about workers being alienated from their product. Like, you're not, if you're, for example, a clockmaker who makes a clock from scratch to the whole product, then that clockmaker is owns the whole clock, and then can sell it, of course. but during the Industrial Revolution, clocks were made industrially, and all workers made a very small part of the clock, and actually they didn't own also, the whole thing. So they were alienated from that, due to the process. They were alienated from the product they were making, because they were making only a very small piece of it by monotonously doing certain putting things in place in a clock. That is the concept of alienation. And it has a negative psychological impact on people. People like to, if you make something that you see the whole product of it, then you own it mentally. But this concept of alienation, that there's a feeling of being apart, is also being used in environmental philosophy, that we have become alienated from nature, in the sense that we no longer feel that we are part of the natural world, that we live so much in technological societies, inside of concrete buildings, air-conditioned or heated. We have all foods pre-packaged, or we see the final product. So we don't... For example, in the supermarket, you can buy fruits all over the year. So it unconnected from the seasons. So it used to be that you could buy apples only a certain period of the year, or raspberries only in summer. And now you can buy raspberries all over the year, because they come from different places, or they come from greenhouses, or they're frozen. So the supermarket doesn't reflect the seasons anymore. And there was also a survey among youth in the UK where asked, where does milk come from? And the youth, they just say, from a carton, from the supermarket. Yeah, of course, that's true, that you buy milk nowadays in packages in the supermarket. But that it is made by a cow, by the way, for its calf. By the way, I'm vegan, so I don't use animal products. But the point is that people don't even know that what part of the life cycle their products come from. So it has to do with food. It has to do how we live our lives. Also that, if you go in winter to a summer place somewhere else in the planet, also you destruct the cycle of the seasons. People don't go outside so much, or they want to go to the other side of the world in order to go outside, but just go outside from your own neighborhood to feel at home in nature is something that we might lose. And it might also be that this alienation is also part of an ecological crisis, that we don't feel that we are connected with nature. We think we humans can live apart from nature, and the technology will help us do that, and that we are completely independent of nature. So we think we are the masters of nature, and in a way we are. We can, but we are still dependent on it, and there is only a certain area range in which we can do that, and probably we will. The system will break, and it might not be that that only technological solutions will save us, but we will have to change our attitude to nature. And to think about alienation, you can ask the big question: how alienated is our society? But also the individual question: how alienated am I from nature? And then there's the difference between: am I alienated in my worldview? So maybe you think you're really connected to nature, but how does that show you in your life stance? What do you eat? What do you do? How often are you in nature? Maybe you feel connected to nature, but then you think, okay, but when I actually am in nature, if that's only on Sunday afternoons, then probably your lifestyle is alienated. So that's a question you could ask yourself: how alienated am I from nature? And then also the question: do I want to be alienated? Maybe you're perfectly happy by being alienated, and that's fine, I think. But it might be that we are on the path to destruction because we, as dominant humans, are too alienated from nature. So maybe this is not a talk, but more a preach, Sarah.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry.
No, but it's true. I mean, yeah, of course we are alienated from nature. We are alienated from a lot of the things that we do, and it is a scary thought. The ecological crisis is happening, and everything like that. But maybe we could give some tips or advice or steps that people can take to feel more connected or to feel less alienated. As you say, Floris, the first thing to do is to think about your own position. Think about whether you consider yourself to be alienated or not in your worldviews or your practices. And then after that, to maybe feel more connected, I guess, doing activities like walkshops more regularly is a very simple way to do it. I know we all have busy lives, but as you say, Floris, we have to think about how we actually practice our worldviews and whether we want to stay in this busy life or we want to make more time to be connected to nature.
Yeah, that's the point you could make. We are busy, but it's not always, but sometimes or often it is a choice. Like how much, what do you want? Do you want to be rich in time or rich in money? Mm-hmm. Do you want to be rich in experiences or rich in possessions? Mm-hmm. And maybe that living a more simple life, can be a more ecologically sound life, and it can also be a more meaningful and lived life with deeper experiences than the short rush that comes from, or positive experience that comes from shopping and all those things that we consider to be part of a successful life. Mm-hmm. So it's really about reassessing what is worthwhile in life.
Yeah. And also maybe just in the context of I know a lot of people feel very overwhelmed by the ecological crisis and feel like they can't do anything. And, of course the problem is much bigger than any individual person. And the whole narrative that individual choices will save the whole system is wrong, because we all know that it's a top-down issue and it's quite systemic. But my approach and something that I realised over the last couple of years is that it's not about feeling that the weight of the whole problem is on your own individual shoulders, or that all of your individual decisions are going to contribute to the final end or whatever. It's more looking at being a part of the solution and not a part of the problem, and also reconnecting to nature as a very selfish thing and as something that benefits you as an individual, your mind, your body, your spirit. You don't have to do it to save society. It's more of a thing to save yourself, and to enjoy your life more, and the benefits of being connected to nature, and also the benefits of sustainable behaviour, more than not contributing to the problem, but also just as an individual to carry out these practices and to be more connected to all the things that you buy and the things that you own and the time that you spend. And I think it can really benefit everybody. So maybe that's also a nice way to think of it, rather than your contribution to the huger ecological problem, more of how do you want to spend your time on this earth, and how do you want to contribute to all of the amazing things that are happening in the world, and the beauty of nature and all of that we don't need to focus completely on the negative side, and more look at how can we enjoy this world and how can we protect it as much as possible. So yeah, maybe that's also something to think about today while you're walking through nature. What decisions do you make, and how does it make you feel, and how could you better spend your life saving nature and protecting it and enjoying it.
That's very well put, Sarah. Maybe we have so much food for thought now that we all turn a little bit inside and maybe just have some silence. Instead of walking, maybe you can either find somewhere to sit on or just stand still and really see if you can quiet down. That if you sit down, we're sitting out on a bench, so we're going to sit down, put both feet on the ground and sit straight up and see if you can relax your shoulders and put your hands on your knees and breathe calmly in and out, and close your eyes and then focus on your breath. Just let it go naturally in and out. And see also if what you hear from nature, and maybe you hear sounds from nature and sounds from culture, like we now hear background sound of the highway, but just let it go past yourself. Just let it go. Just notice it and relax for a while. Breathing in and breathing out. And make sure you stay a little bit more straight up than you usually do, with your neck really straight, your head over your spine, so that you sit really in an active way but still relaxed. And just be for a few minutes. Time that we're sitting here, the cows have moved from one corner to the field all the way, passing us to the other side of the fields, and it's like a few dozen really huge, mostly black and white Dutch cows. One of the things, I don't know about what you think, but being silent, and especially in a silence like a meditative silence, that it seems like time stops. It's not only that you don't say things, usually time just disappears without noticing it. You do stuff. But when you are silent, then also the time seems to... a little bit too much nature.
Yeah.
So we have
a bird left a present on my knee while we were sitting in silence, so I'm just cleaning that
up. Okay, yeah, then you can have it. That's inside. You won't have that problem. Oh, okay, yeah. So, no, but the thing is that time seems to stand still when you meditate. So that's also an argument in favor of doing like a daily meditation, even if it's 5 minutes. We think we don't have time for things, but if you sit silent for 5 minutes without any input, so no music, no nothing, just sitting for 5 minutes, you will see that time. You can calm down and you can get more grip on how time passes. I think that's the magic of meditation, that it's like you open up the moment. Usually you pass through moments. When you sit down yourself, the moment opens up and you become aware of the time. And it can also be that it's sometimes like a strange feeling, like, okay, it's boring, what's happening now, and I hope it passes soon. But still, it's a very different experience, and I think it might be a worthwhile experience. Shall we walk a little bit?
Mm-hmm.
Are you still there at the other side of the world, or wherever you are? Are you also walking? Is it strange to walk with hearing a voice or not hearing anything from the Netherlands? Yeah, it's nice in a way to do this. Sarah and I walking here and still feel connected, because we act as if we are with other people. Mm-hmm. So we are really reaching also out to you. And how does this feel you, Sarah? That we are walking here together, but we're doing it for a larger group.
Yeah, it feels funny. Funny to think that people will be listening back on this day, but also nice. I mean, I was a student of Floris's. Now I'm his teaching assistant. But I gained so much from my walkshop experiences. We actually did a 2-day walkshop as a part of the master's program, and I think every single person that was there felt so re-energized and reconnected and reflective after those 2 days, and I learned a lot from it. I've been very consciously trying to be out in nature more often, very consciously trying to just completely slow down while I'm in nature and take in everything around me. So in that sense, I'm really happy that there's people all over the world listening, and hopefully they will, for themselves, for their friends, for their families, also take on this practice and see what benefits it can bring them.
One exercise we can't do because you are on your own, but maybe, Sarah, you can describe how that is. We do this blindfolded walk in order also to build trust as one of the things that you actually can stimulate in people. Can you tell something about how you experienced the blindfold walking, and also explain a little bit more in detail what it is?
Yeah, so the blindfold walk was a very unique and fun experience for everybody. The basic concept was, in the group that we were in, we divided in two. Half of the group put on blindfolds, and they were being guided, and the other half were the guides. So once the blindfold groups put on their blindfold, everybody was silent, and random people went up to we see a beautiful big cow right beside us here on the path also. But yeah, people in the guiding group just picked a random person and took them through the forest, and the whole concept of the walk was the person who was blindfolded was allowed to speak and say how they were feeling, say what they were hearing, vocalize what they were reflecting on in their head, while the guide wasn't allowed to speak and was only allowed to use muttering sounds or sounds to respond to what the person was saying. And we did this for 15 minutes, I think, 10 to 15 minutes each round. And really, really interesting experience, because when you're blindfolded in nature, it's really all the rest of your senses are completely heightened, and you're very aware of the tiny things that you wouldn't notice normally. So for me, one thing that really surprised me was the feeling of the change in height in the ground. Where we were recently doing a walkshop, it was quite a hilly area, small hills. I mean, we're in the Netherlands still, so nothing too crazy. But when I was blindfolded, I could really feel so strongly the difference in the height of the ground underneath me and the topography of the land. Also, the sounds are totally heightened. You can hear everything much clearer when you can't see. I think that visual stimulation sometimes can be very overwhelming, and we're taking in a lot all the time, so it's very refreshing to put on a blindfold and to be in the dark and to feel everything else around. And yeah, so we did this multiple times throughout the workshop, and everybody really enjoyed it, and also being guided and not having anybody respond to the things you're saying is a very interesting practice. And I think people sometimes felt it in the beginning a bit awkward just to be speaking and have nobody speaking back, but in the end it's a very important tool to reflect and to really immerse yourself in the practice of being blindfolded in nature. So I think all the students that did it really enjoyed it.
Thanks, Sarah. So now I will show what people find the strangest thing. There's here another huge oak tree. So I don't know if you are in a surrounding of a tree, but if you are, try and to hug a tree. Like really hug it if you hug another person. And I'm doing it now. And it of course it feels strange at the beginning because we feel it's awkward to do that because other people think you are strange, you're a tree hugger. But you know, it's just, why not? That's the thing. And it really calms you down, and it really, you feel connected with nature. And you can also reflect on the strangeness. Why is this strange? I mean, we don't think it's strange to board an airplane and to fly to the other side of the world, or to go shopping on the big shopping street. But we do think it's strange to hug a tree. I'm not harming anything now. I'm not spending any money. I'm just sharing and connecting to another earthling. And see what it brings me, or not. I'm just in the moment. And maybe I can tell about, so you can hug your tree, and I tell you about the tree hugging. The tree hugging actually is like a metaphor for lunatic environmental activists. So you are a tree hugger, then you are not taken seriously anymore. So I think, of course, therefore, I let all my students do that, at least that they have experienced what it is to actually hug a tree, because people say tree hugger to any environmental activist, but also the environmental activists often haven't hugged a tree, so at least also have hugged a tree. But it started out in the 1970s in northern India by a group of women, the Chipko movement, it's called, who were very much against deforestation. I mean, there was industrialization coming up, and industrialization goes hand in hand with deforestation. And especially the women there, they were protesting against it, the logging. And in order to stop the loggers, they hacked the trees. And these photos of these Indian women, they were in the news, and they have gone worldwide. And since then we have the tree hugging. So tree hugging is actually a deed of environmental activism to make choices of what is important. So short-term economic gain or long-term living into an ecological environment in a sound and sustainable way. So tree hugging is there's more to tree hugging than we think, and the question is who's mad or who's an idiot, the tree huggers or the loggers. So while you hug a tree, it is to really think about why. And actually, I'm now hugging a tree. There's now a whole group passing, and I don't know that I can't see them. So maybe how do people react? You know, I don't care. But it's the thing is that usually people think it's strange, or they think that there's something really weird going on, that I must be mad, or they probably it's laughable. But why? You know, I don't. It's completely fine if people think it's funny. I mean, it is funny in a way because you don't see it often. but probably they think that I'm a lunatic and that Sarah is my guide, and that, or my ward, I should say, and that I will be locked up after this walk. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
How did they?
We see some smiling faces, of course,
then it's
and
good.
laughing faces a bit. But yeah, it's interesting that people are so willing to walk through trees, but then it seems like a crazy concept to go up and touch them. I guess it's just trying to use your other senses to connect with nature. And maybe one thing while you're also hugging the tree is to just really take in the details of the bark. Think about how the tree functions, how the leaves function. I always think, if there was cameras in trees, what would they have seen in the course of their lifetime?
Oh, here, probably a lot here.
Yeah.
At the outskirts of Utrecht. So not too far in the forest, but a lot of running, a lot of dogs.
Yeah, and the amount of life that a tree supports from the bigger scale of course, providing oxygen and soaking up carbon dioxide, but on a very small scale of providing homes for ants and insects and all of the species that depend on it. So yeah, maybe a moment to take in and appreciate the power of a tree.
I'm now going to the show, so I'll do it. There's a beautiful meadow here. And in the meadow, there is an island of trees. So there actually is a tree island. And I like the concept of that. So there's a huge meadow with high grass. And in the grass, there is, I think, 100 meters diameter. There are huge trees, and they have leaves all through the ground because the meadow is not being used by cows. So actually, there is a tree island. And the grass is very nice, and I'm gonna put off my shoes and to walk barefoot to the tree island to see. That's another experience to nature. Yeah, I see we are already 45 minutes away, so we will end soon. But it's just a thing to I don't know where you are, but if you can, it's very different to experience nature. Oh, it's cool, isn't it? So I hope that we don't. It's also a bit risky. You don't know what's happening, or you will feel. We're now walking both barefoot in the high grass. That's like playfulness, right?
Yeah.
And also, most people don't do it. Actually, only if you go to the beach, or if you, but not just. We are really glued to our shoes in a way. So, I thought we could go. There was a path. Isn't there a path?
Now we're really in wilderness, trapped in a wild meadow field.
We have to be careful that we don't want to hurt us. I see also thistles there, right?
Yeah. But it's fine. What harm can it do? Maybe a little sting.
The grass is really almost up to my shoulders. It's really high grass.
There's also little yellow and purple flowers, buttercups, and I'm not sure what the purple ones are. I see some bumblebees as well, enjoying the purple flowers.
Yeah. We will walk through to the tree island, and I have a gong with me, and then maybe have some few last ideas, and then I will play the gong, and then you can find your way home.
You see what seems to be a big ant-hill or an insect hill also in the middle of the meadow.
We're walking now. Really, there's no path. There's really yellow flowers. A lot of different kind of grasses. It is very soft, but I can't see where I put my feet. So we hope that it's not a thistle or stone or anything else. But
it's really beautiful. All the grass is going to seed, so it looks quite fluffy. A lot of kind of pink tones of seeds all around us.
Oh, look, we see the group of people there in the distance. They stay on the path, and we are more connected with nature by being in the field with our bare feet.
And I must say, it feels quite soft underfoot. It doesn't feel uncomfortable to be in barefoot. I think it's because the grass is so thick.
Yeah.
But yeah, we haven't had any mishaps so far, so I think it's a safe thing to do.
Yeah. But indeed, we cover ourselves with clothes, with shoes. So little of connection with nature. We spend most of our time inside. So I think that a good life is also a walking life. And you don't have to go far, just go outside and walk, and then walk out of the city. You can also have city walks, or there are parks in cities, but just go outside. We go to the left because I know there are paths. We are now reached almost the island, and actually the island is really a wilderness because it has a ring of these, what do you call these?
Nettles.
Nettles. So you can't actually go in there because it's all nettles here. So we walk around the island.
The wind is blowing through the long grass. It almost looks like waves at some point, waves going through water.
Yeah.
So it's quite beautiful. The tree island seems to have a lot of different varieties of trees. There's a big, beautiful oak tree. Some of the leaves are actually kind of yellow and red already.
Wow, we reached the island. It's like we have swum through the grass, and we're now here. And a little bit further, then I'll get my gong. And speaking about the last thing a bit, I will be at the conference where I also give present a talk about the deductions of walkshops, and I will organize a workshop for participants in Stockholm as well. But this was the first time we did this Podwalk. How was it?
Yeah,
this kind of strange thing, walking together.
Yeah, it was great. I mean, it's always nice to have the excuse to come out into nature like this, and I'm really excited to share this whole concept and this experience with people around the world. And thank you, Floris, for bringing me along and for also introducing this concept to so many students over the years that have benefited so much, and hopefully everyone listening here will also benefit a lot too.
Yeah, I hope everyone enjoyed it, and please indeed feel free to also experiment with it. And if you have nice experience about workshops, either alone or with other people, please feel free to contact me. And then, it would be really nice to have a community of walkers around the world to walk towards a better world.